welcome to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe University. We'll try this again. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We'd love to hear from you. We're here until 8 o'clock tonight. 704-332-0173. It's the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth. And this is our last show until the holidays wrap up. And we're back here on January the 9th. Now, the shows from this point on after tonight will be all on Monday. Also, we'll answer some email questions tonight. The email address is major49ershow@yahoo.com. We have all our questions for tonight's show, but we certainly would love to hear from you for the next show on January the 9th. Again, our phone number is 704-332-0173. Alongside Niners head coach Alan Major and Lanny Ford from ESPN 730, I'm Matt Swarad. And, Coach, big win last night, now 7-2. You've won 5 in a row. Beat Coppin State by 11 last night at Halton Arena. And, the break for the exams, 9 days, had a little bit of rust. You shook that off and got the W in the end. Congratulations.
Yeah, we were talking about it last night. People that understand college basketball know, Coppin's a good team. They had UConn down by 14 in the first half, played at Oklahoma, played at Purdue. Down 2 points to Illinois with, I think, 8 minutes to go. So they coming into our place, we knew they weren't going to be fazed by, a crowd or the environment. They got 4 senior guys that have been through it. So, it was a great challenge for us coming off that layoff. And you can practice all you want, until you play, and kind of get that rust back off again. That's what was good. It was good to get back out on the floor. And, we're a little bit rusty, but for the most part, 15 assists, 9 turnovers, played a fairly clean game. Just a handful of layup misses away from shooting a higher field goal percentage. But by and large, it was a good win against a good team.
It seems like now with each win, each passing game, there's improvements in little different areas. We started out the season with a young team having difficulty, turning the ball over. Now we've seen 2 games in a row where you keep cutting that number down, now in single digits last night. So many different areas we've seen improvement as it's gone along. And as a coach, you've got to like to see that because they're buying into what you're doing. They're working hard. The effort is there. And now you're seeing the improvements in the scores, of course, but also just the little things that help to get those wins.
That's a great point. Yeah, and it's a credit to the guys. I mean, we're only going to progress as much as they attack it. And we talked about a couple weeks ago, about the +2, -2 thing with some of our numbers. And we've, kind of started to creep the turnovers down a little bit. We were fouling a lot. 2 weeks ago we were averaging 20 fouls a game. Now we're down to 18. Our goal is 16. We're shooting 43% from the field. Our goal is 46. Well, 2 weeks ago we were 41. So we're trying to just creep some of these numbers either up or down depending on what we want to do. And that's what the month of December is for, is to get better. I mean, we're on an NBA mode right now, for about 2 weeks in terms of playing, no school. So we're going to try to groom our guys' minds into attacking it the right way. Get in, get extra shots, watch film, practice hard, then go get off your feet, take care of your body. But it's a great chance to improve as a team. We want to try to take advantage of it.
The Bojangles Bow Time segment, I want to talk about the upcoming road trip, and now that the classes are over for the guys, it's a focus time, but it's just basketball.
Right.
We go back on the road like last year, the swing down to Mercer and Georgia Tech. That was a great road trip for us last season. And now you're going to go on the road. Of course, you got a home game coming up on Thursday against Miami. But then you go on the road after the Christmas holiday with a chance against a couple of really tough teams. But to get away as a group, nothing but basketball, and see what you can do against some really good competition.
Yeah, I'm excited, to be honest with you. A lot of people look at the road in one or two ways. They go, uh-oh. Or they go, oh, yeah. And I like the oh, yeah part of it because when you want to be good as a team, you want to find out. You want to get answers. You want to find out how good you can really be. And to play 3 straight BCS teams, 2 of them on the road. Memphis has started the preseason top 10. Not sure if they're still in the national rankings or not, but very good team. So we got a tremendous opportunity, the way I look at it, to continue to grow. And that's what we've been talking about with these guys is, the expectation, you want to try to win every game you play. But you always want to make sure you pull stuff from games, whether you win or you lose them. And that's where that growth part comes in. And if we can keep growing, that means you keep getting better. You keep getting better. Now you play better. You play better, that gives you the best chance of being as good as you can.
Coach, a couple of weeks ago had that terrific win against the Davidson Wildcats. And we talked about how fundamentally sound a team that Davidson is, how good they are. And I think maybe, with the outcome being 23 points, people maybe thought, well, maybe they're not as good as they are, or we thought they were. And that's not the case. We knew they were good, and you played a fantastic game. The guys played really a great 40 minutes of basketball and showed how good they can be.
Right.
And then last night, Davidson goes on the road and kind of validates our win, I think, because they go to Kansas and they did what we knew they could do. They won on the road against Kansas. So that says a lot about what we did. As Coach McKillop said, we kind of had them down and held them down and kept them down and had a fantastic win.
Yeah, no, we talk about it's funny you mention that because we talk to the team at times about you got to try to capture these snapshots of what your best version of your performances are. So, when you have that great defensive performance, then you want to try to take a picture of that and capture it. When you have a game where you don't turn the ball over very much, you want to capture that. Why did you do it? Why did you only have 9 turnovers last night? 56% field goal percentage against Davidson. Well, why did you do that? And so then when you take pictures of that and you always want to say, all right, if you've shown you can do it once, now to be really, really good, you want to be consistent and do it every single day. Well, at times, a team with our experience and our age, we may not know always how to do it every single day. And that's what this month is about, is trying to really capture that. So by the time you get into January, mid-January, late January, you're in that mode of where you feel like you can do it every single day.
Now that you've got your rotation going, that's got to be helping you make plans for the future play. One of the things you have to worry when you're young, you got low levels of experience like you had coming into this year.
Right.
You got to worry about what am I going to do with depth.
Right.
And now you're able to get enough players in to where you're building some depth and building experience, and you're being able to do it early.
Yeah, no, and that's the idea of having depth is you throw different guys out there, and we still are having different combinations from time to time, but by and large, we got a pretty good feel of what guys' strengths and weaknesses are. We want to put them in situations where they can be successful. But you hope that as we continue to build that depth, you can maintain that intensity level. And that's ultimately what you want on the defensive end, is you don't want those drop-offs, ups and downs on defense. And that's what was good about Davidson. I thought we pieced it together, pretty much for the whole 40 minutes. But we want that to be the standard. And we talk about that as a team. Don't do that because it's Davidson and that's a rivalry game and you're playing for the Hornets' Nest Trophy and all that. Do that because that's who we are, and that's what Charlotte basketball is all about.
When you look at the stats and you look at you've got 4 guys that are right at the 30-minute mark as far as playing time, 3 at 30 or better, 1 at 29. That's the highest that I think that I've seen this season where they've gotten that many minutes inside the game.
Yeah, and what happens is when we sub and other teams sub, sometimes you'll have our subs against theirs, but sometimes if the way we sub, when our starting guys come in, some of their subs are still in. And you hope that, our 5 against the 5 they have, you can get some separation in terms of matchups or pick on a certain guy, if you got a matchup problem. But, we're just trying to continue to build that. And we haven't completely solved it. I think what's hard is that every game is different. You like to be able to say, every single night, all right, this is exactly the way it's going to be. Well, it doesn't work out like that. Every baseball manager would like to go in and have his starting pitcher throw 9 innings. Well, it doesn't work. The guy gets rocked after the 4th inning, and then you got to come with somebody else, or he does a good job for 7. You're all right, let's pull him. Now we got our middle guy. He goes for 1, and then we come with the closer. So it's kind of like that with subbing. Every game takes on a life of its own, and it helps us as a staff get better at it because now we're having to adjust on the fly based on the flow of the game.
Coach, let's get to the email segments. And the first question is going to come from Tommy Holbrooks. And the email segment is brought to us by the Alumni Association. We have all our questions for tonight, but if you'd like to get a question in for the January the 9th show, the email address is major49ershow@yahoo.com. Major49ershow@yahoo.com. From Tommy Holbrooks tonight, Coach and Lanny, thank you for everything that's going on with ESPN 730, and heard the comments of the show last week. Tommy had a question here last week as well. Good job against Davidson last week. Great depth of the team. Not much of a drop-off in talent. Chris Braswell's point totals kind of sneak up on you. similar to Cedric Maxwell's games. With your team's depth, I would like to see the team press more often. I'll get my first look at the team against Miami. I still believe a good offense beats a good defense in basketball. Keep up the good work. Again, thanks for Tommy Holbrook's with that question. I guess you talked about pressing, Coach, a little bit more maybe, and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'd like to also. I think it's that old cart before the horse argument. I think a big part of his first month of the season has been about getting our man-to-man defense down. Principles, how we defend in the half court, rotations, ball screen defense, how we want to play pick and rolls. And so as you get your man-to-man defense under you in terms of your foundation, then you can always extend up the floor. And I'd like to do that. And part of that is you don't always want to show all your cards sometimes before you get the conference play, too.
Yeah.
You like to keep something in your hip pocket. But we will do it from time to time. But I think the big focus has been getting our half-court defense down, because if you're up the floor early in the year, especially with us having 7 new guys, to the roster and learning our system, if they don't know what the half-court principles are about and you're trying to pick up in the full court, well, you're not going to have a foundation when you get to the half-court. So our thing is, let's build it in the half-court first, get all the basic stuff down. Then when you want to extend up the floor, you can do that, knowing full well that when you get back, you got your legs under you in terms of having a foundation.
Is man-to-man to you, is that what you consider your fallback defense? If nothing else is working, that's what you want to be your most solid at, is the man-to-man. Some people it's zone.
Right.
They feel more comfortable. They can pack in that zone and kind of regroup and get themselves back together. But you think it's man-to-man?
That's my coaching tree and the guys that I owe my opportunity to have this opportunity. I mean, that's what I owe them to. I mean, they taught me man-to-man defense. Gene Cady, Bruce Weber, Steve Lavin, guys that I've had a chance to kind of be around. I mean, that's what I learned. But anytime you play another defense, I think the big thing you want to do is you want to make sure you play it out of strength, meaning that if you're playing man-to-man, the reason why you want to play zone is you want to play zone because you choose to play zone.
Right.
Not because your man-to-man's getting crushed, and now you got to do something else. Or if you want to go do another defense, if you want to press out of strength. You don't want to press because you're down 10 points and you're scrambling and it's helter-skelter. I mean, that happens, but that's not – you don't want that to be the reason why you change up. You want to change up because you want to do it versus the other team putting you in that position where you feel like you have to do it.
One thing I noticed last night that was really impressive, especially, again, with a younger player, switching off on the man-to-man when, coming off a ball screen, we saw, where Perry Henry would switch with either, DeMario Mayfield or if Deuce was on the floor.
Right.
And just getting to that open guy, making sure that, there wasn't somebody just floating around in the paint or out on the wing. I mean, just learning that aspect of it that quickly.
It takes time.
It does.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a great job last night.
They did. I mean, those guys averaged 27 three-point attempts a game, and their whole thing of how they got threes was to either drive it or play pick and roll to create a drive and kick situation. So, we just tried to keep them out of situations where they could drive and kick, and they have to play us more straight, or we played them more straight up to avoid scrambling and all that stuff. But I thought the guys did a good job of just, you always have to understand personnel. Teams are going to run plays and they're going to run their stuff, but you got to know, all right, what does number 12 do? Okay, what does number 21 do? Is this guy left-handed? What side of the floor does this guy like the ball?
Tendencies.
Right block or left block as a big guy. So you got to learn that stuff probably more importantly than you do what plays they're running. You got to learn that stuff too. But you got to know, all right, I got number 12. This is what my guy does. Or here are the 3 guys I might guard in this game. What do they do? And they've done as good a job of that, in the short term. I'm pleased with the way they've tried to embrace scouting and doing all that stuff.
Phone number is 704-332-0173 here at the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth. Wild Wing Cafe University, the Alan Major Show. We're here until 8 o'clock. Coach, last night we got a break I'm going to get to first, and then we'll get back to that question I wanted to ask you about last night, the win against Coppin State, an 11-point win at Halton Arena last night. Don't forget the Miami game coming up at 7:30 on a Thursday, and the Niner women are in action tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Halton against North Carolina A&T. We'll take a break. This is the Alan Major Show from Signature Sports Group. Welcome back to the Alan Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe University with Coach Major. I'm Matt Swarad, also alongside Lanny Ford from ESPN 730. A reminder, the Niners play the University of Miami coming up on Thursday night. Still great seats available. Call 704-687-4949 or buy them online at charlotte49ers.com. Before we get to the Time Warner Cable stat stuffer, one thought on last night's game, Coach, the win against Coppin State. You know, we keep talking about the defense and the job you guys did. Also, Coppin State looked like they wanted to kind of slow the game down. They wanted to shorten the game.
Yep.
They worked the shot clock down quite a bit. And then as they tried to get something going, we were talking about switching and the man-to-man defense. You guys put them in a position where they couldn't get a really good look at the basket a lot of times.
Yeah, we had, I think, three 35-second, shot clock violations. And we talk about in practice, sometimes, guarding the shot clock, meaning that be disciplined enough to guard the thing all the way down to zero and limit your breakdowns. If a team tries to really test you for the whole 35 seconds, try not to break down until the very end of the clock, because a disciplined team or a patient team is going to make you work. And that's kind of how they were. But I thought the guys, really kind of, as we were, talking about scouting and talking about copping their strengths and weaknesses, guys understood, if you let them make a lot of threes, then they can give you problems. And they did a pretty good job of taking away, easy looks. It seemed like we had an outstretched hand and guys' faces a lot of times when they shouted. So as you continue to move forward, I mean, just understanding what, how can a team hurt you? What's that one thing that they can do? Then you got to think anything but. So they can have anything but their favorite way. Maybe they use their second way to score or their third way to score, but you'll never want to let a team have their favorite way to score, because that's where they're most comfortable.
Time Warner Cable stat stuffer, Javaris Barnett, third double-double, 26 points, new personal best for JB, 12 rebounds. That's a nice night.
Yeah, and I thought big thing was those clutch free throws down the stretch, going 7 for 7, and that's something that we've been talking about as a team, just trying to creep up our free throw percentage. It's actually up 2 percentage points from 2 weeks ago. We were 64 2 weeks ago. Now we're up to 66. So that's kind of that +2, -2 thing, we've been talking about. I mean, that's slowly starting to get there. But no, JB was big time, and he played well. And I think, the scoring part's great. I was really happy with his rebound totals.
Yeah, and his defense.
Yeah.
I thought his defense, because that doesn't show up in the stats.
Right.
You don't get to see that as much. Coach, we got one here from David Ray. I was wondering how the Arkansas and Memphis scheduling came about. I heard on last week's show that they're not return games. Do you know the coaches at either school? I'm very excited to see us go up against both those programs. And do you know Melvin Watkins? Thanks for your time, Coach Major. That's from David Ray.
Yeah, I'll start in reverse. I haven't gotten to know Melvin real well. Obviously see him on the road recruiting, different AAU events. I do know Mike Anderson a little bit. And I've gotten to know him. He's a really nice guy. I know he's happy about going back to Arkansas. He was there with Nolan Richardson, back in the day, and I think that was 95. Maybe
they had a pretty good weekend here in Charlotte back in 1994.
Was that 94? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of a homecoming for him. So I know he's excited. It was just an opportunity the way it came about. We had 2 games to get, and you always have to be conscious, at least in the A-10. I don't know how other leagues are, but in the A-10, they basically say they want your schedule to have balance, meaning that you've got to have a certain number of high-level teams, a certain level of kind of mid-level teams, and a certain level of lower RPI games. And they don't want you having too many what could be called easy ones. No game is easy, but you have to have a balance of that. So we needed a couple games to kind of balance out things RPI-wise in terms of our schedule, and we're basically going to stay out there. We'll go to Arkansas, play the 28th, basically bus over to Memphis during the day on the 29th, get settled, go eat, wake up on the 30th, we'll practice, go get a nice meal somewhere in Memphis, hopefully some barbecue.
A little barbecue, maybe a little blues later.
If I got my choice, hopefully barbecue.
Head over to BB King's.
And then, right. And then on the 31st, wake up and kind of do the game day thing and play. So great opportunity for us. I think the guys are excited about it too.
Now, I've got one here that's come about because of your record now. Right. This is from Quint House. says, what is the ideal progression for your program? You're 7-2, literally 1 second away from 8-1, and you are a season removed from 10 wins overall. Would you think the NIT in your second year is reality, or is it too difficult to look ahead with A-10 play a tougher progression?
Yeah, he's right about A-10 play. It's definitely tougher. As far as, what kind of stamp you would have put on the ending, I really don't get into that too much. I think the thing we're trying to get our guys to understand is control the process. And the process of playing well is practicing well, taking care of your body, taking care of the business academically, because when your business is handled academically, that means your head's clear. And now you're not bringing mental garbage to the floor because you haven't taken care of off-the-court stuff. So that's all as much as a part of it, too. Obviously preparation, scouting, lift weights when we lift, film, all those little things, and doing all those things at a high level. And then when you do that, you kind of control the process of winning. And if you deal with the process, usually you kind of get what you deserve. That's the best part about college basketball. You kind of get what you deserve at the end. And, what that means at the end for us, I don't know. Do I believe it has the potential to be special? I do. I don't know what special is yet, but I do know that we show flashes of playing, and it's really just to sit back and watch them at times is really, really exciting. And we've got to now, the maturity part is trying to develop that to where we're consistent, to where not only we as coaches know that we can sustain it, but our guys themselves as players know they're going to go out and sustain it.
It's only natural, I guess, for folks to start looking ahead like that and thinking, okay, what are the possibilities? But, for yourself and the players, and like probably Bill Belichick does it better anyway. you just focus,
right.
One game at a time. You start looking ahead.
Yeah.
That's how things kind of get away from you. You start, this is going to be a win. This is going to be a win. This is a loss. You don't know how that's going to play out, and it's something that this league is just too good from top to bottom to.
Right.
To think that way.
No, you can't. You can't do that to yourself because, I wish somebody could do a documentary on college basketball where they actually follow a coach, an assistant, from the moment he gets all the film until the end of that game, and follow him, watch his preparation, watch him at home at night when everybody's in bed sitting at his kitchen table with his laptop, watch him drive into the office before anybody shows up so he watches more film before the secretary shows up, and all the preparation. Watch him on his computer, typing the report. Watch him in meetings, presenting the report to the team. The man hours that are involved in just one game are incredible. So to think ahead, you're really doing yourself a disservice because the more you think ahead, the more you're losing focus on the task at hand. And, every college basketball season is unique. And what it's like, the best way I can describe it is if you got to cross a big stream or a big river and there's 30 stones all in different parts, and but each one is reachable if you just take the right step and you take the right balance to get there. Eventually you'll cross the river. You start trying to skip stones, you're going to fall in the water.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how a season is. I mean, the first step may be here, then the next one may be, all right, it's a little bit longer over there, but we can make it. We just got to land on 2 feet. Then the next step may be a little closer, and you got to deal with each stone along the way till you get to the other side.
In the holiday spirit, let's get that one more question in from Logan Cologne, Lanny.
What's the most memorable Christmas gift you received? Was it a toy, a ball, or a memory?
Wow. Logan, that's a great question. I would say it was the memories of just your family being together. My dad passed away in 2000, so it's been a while since we've all been able to kind of share that, together, all 7 of us. But I'd say in terms of a gift, I was 8 years old, and I used to watch the ABA when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Red, white, blue ball, but, blowing out afros, tight shorts.
Right here in Charlotte.
And my mom got me you wouldn't understand this brand, a Voight.
Yeah.
A Voight basketball. And it was red, white, and blue. And I beat that thing up. I mean, I dribbled it. I mean, it would, get those ball blisters, where the seam would rip open and the rubber part sticking out. And if you dribble the ball wrong, they would go the other direction because it hit that blister. I mean, I wore that ball out. But that was, like, far and away probably my favorite Christmas gift. It's one of the first basketballs I ever got as a kid.
That's a good one. We'll take a break right now on the show. 704-332-0173 is our phone number. I want to thank Time Warner Cable for the Stat Stuffer segment. Save a bundle on TV, internet, and phone. Call 1-800-TW-CABLE today. Back with more. Our special player guest, E. Victor Nickerson, is going to be joining us shortly. This is the Alan Majors Show from Signature Sports Group.
To the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth for the Alan Major Show. You can catch the video replay of the show on UNC Charlotte Cable TV 22 on Time Warner Cable. That's on Tuesday and Friday. Tune in for show times.
Well, Lenny, our special player guest today is E. Victor Nickerson, Niner freshman from Atlanta, Georgia, Norcross High School, and it's brought to us tonight by Ortho Carolina. Ortho Carolina, you improved. E. Victor, great to see you again. Hope you're doing well. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Big win last night. You guys now 7-2, and you won 5 in a row. It's going to be kind of fun for you right now.
Yes, sir. It's great. My teammates are good. Excited to be around. Coaches excited to be around. Just every day we practice, it's a great day to get better.
What's it been like for you so far, making the transition from high school to college and having this great start?
I'm not about to sit here and say it's easy 24/7. It's ups and downs, like Coach said. It's difficult. But overall, it's been great. I've enjoyed myself at UNC Charlotte.
Now, did you get to come in this summer and take classes to kind of get used to being in college and the environment?
Second summer session I did. The first summer session, we had a snowstorm back home, so it kind of got in the way of the first summer session.
So talk a little bit about, it's going to be different for you, too, with the early morning practices and getting used to, getting up and getting going and playing basketball before school starts, and how that's kind of worked out for you guys, kind of like a team bonding thing, getting there early and getting your work done early, and then gives you some free time to study later in the day. Well,
it's a little bit different, but back home school started at 7 anyway. I was already up and moving.
That's true.
Sometimes I went and worked out early in high school. So, I mean, sometimes it's different for a fact that it's continuous. Got to wake up every day, produce, bring energy. That's the difficult part.
Where do you feel like right now, since you started the season with practice in October, and where you are now, where you've made your most improvement?
My most improvement, just everything all around, really.
Just getting comfortable on the floor. And is the game faster?
It's a different pitch, yes, sir. Much different. It's much faster. Well, it's faster in a sense being ready earlier. The defense is more aggressive. They're older, stronger, quicker, faster than high school, so it is different.
It looks like you've made that transition pretty well, as well as some of the other guys that are younger on the team. When you start looking at the playing minutes and Coach Major getting all you guys in on the rotation, you seem to be progressing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, over time, I have been progressing well. Teammates been progressing well, and just hopefully in the future it'll continue.
What are some of the things you like to do away from playing basketball?
PS3 Black Ops. All day, every day.
Anybody on your team that maybe could beat you?
No, they can't see me. No.
At least you're honest about it.
Not at all.
It's going to be fun now for you now with classes being over. You got that semester under your belt, and now just basketball for a while. What's that going to be like for you?
Actually, it's a great feeling. Pretty much go practice and come back and you can sleep and rest. Maybe go back to the gym, get a couple extra shots up. Don't have to worry about studying or anything.
You know, being from Atlanta, it's not that far from Charlotte. I'm sure your family gets to see you play quite often. But are you going to get a chance to go home for the Christmas break?
Yes, sir. I'm going to go home for a couple of days, spend time with my grandmother. She still lives in Georgia, so spend time with her.
How about the trip coming up? You're going to go to Arkansas, going to go to Memphis. So a couple of teams I'm sure you've seen on television quite a bit, and you got a chance to go up against some pretty good competition.
Yes, sir. It should be a great test for us. No question in my mind. We could beat them. We could beat both of them. No question in my mind.
Looking at this team right now, where do you think, potentially, at the end of the season, you guys, the improvements that you can make? What are those areas that you want to see between now and the end of the season to get better at? If those things happen, Coach is talking about, maybe something special could happen at the end of the season.
Just pretty much improving on everything. Keep raising our assist totals up, dropping the turnovers, like Coach said. Keep bringing the energy, stay strong on defense. Just get better at the little things that we missing. Maybe miss a couple of box outs in games, get those later on in the season, things like that.
Got Miami coming up on Thursday night. What are you looking forward to about that game?
Just a lot of energy. Hope fan support's there like it was against Coppin State. And bringing out a W after the day.
Enjoying playing at Halton Arena?
Yes, sir. It's great. Great feeling. Fans support us a lot.
Well, we've talked about this the last couple of shows. The soccer team made the run to the Final Four, and being a Niners student, on that side of it, not playing on that team, but watching a team have all that success, what was that like for you?
Man, it was exciting. I'll tell you one thing. I was in the union, the student union, watching the game. Everybody was in there. It was crowded. And at the last couple of seconds, our soccer team had a shot to tie it back up, and it was depressing for a moment. It was real depressing. But our soccer team, they fought. They should have won. They actually the better team that day. They just got lucky, or UNC got lucky and had a little goal. So.
Well, good luck on Thursday. Thanks so much for taking the time tonight, stopping by, and have a great season, great seeing you, and happy holidays.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Victor Nickerson's been our guest, brought to us by Ortho Carolina. Ortho Carolina, you improve. More coming up on the show, the Allen Major Show. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. We'll return to the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth after these messages from Signature Sports Group. Welcome back to the Allen Major Show here at Wild Wing Cafe. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. A reminder, Wild Wing Cafe has added a new promotion this year. We hope you have enjoyed it thus far. Take advantage of 10% off for all Niner fans before and after home games at Halton Arena. Just show your ticket stub before the game or give me your ticket stub after the game for a 10% discount off your entire order. And the next Niners men's game is coming up against Miami. That's at 7:30 on Thursday at Halton Arena. Coach, as we look at a couple of statistics here, talking about Miami coming up and what we got to do to get a win against a very good Hurricanes team. Mm-hmm. Niners 6-0 this year. We just score 70 points or more. And now during this 5-game winning streak, you've held every one of the 5 opponents under 40% shooting. So there's 2 things. Yeah. We can do both those things.
Right.
Probably get a win.
Yeah, winning, that's the beauty of stats, is that they don't, number one, they don't lie. They never lie, and they create these common threads. So when you're not playing well, you can look at them and the stats will tell you something. And then when you are playing well, the stats will tell you something. And the good thing of it is stats also keep you humble, because you can look at stats and say, all right, you performed at a pretty good level. Here's where we are. But then you can always say, all right, here's where we can get better. And then you start getting picky and say, all right, we're pretty good in this category. Can we now go from pretty good to elite in this category? Because you're not that far off. Whereas some categories you might be far off and you just want to get to where you're solid, and then you want to get good, going from solid to good. So there's with all the stats, there's different levels of where you want to be. But, the common threads are winning, are defending, taking care of the basketball, and obviously rebounding the ball. I mean, there's all those common threads in there. You got to have those no matter what.
Tell us a bit about Miami and what they're like. I know they're very good. Of course, they play in the ACC, and Coach Jim Larinaga in his first year, and he's a fantastic coach. Took George Mason to the Final Four. So what is this Hurricanes team like?
I'll tell you what, really talented. We'll sometimes have a 3-guard or 4-guard lineup. Heavy pick-and-roll team. They shoot 39% from 3 right now. So through 10 games, usually you start getting a pretty good measure of where you are. Not that your stats won't change from there, but it's a good test. And so that's kind of where they are through 10 games. So we're going to have to be really conscious of defending the 3-point shot. And that gets back to that anything but, situation, is that if we know going in, that's one of their big things. What can we do to take that away and make them, shoot tough twos? So they just got a kid back by the name of Reggie Johnson, number 42. Huge kid, about 300 pounds, just a massive presence inside. And what he scored 15 points in their Florida Atlantic game Saturday night. And he is kind of giving them a post presence now, in addition with Kenny Kaji, the other kid they have. So it's a very good team. I mean, every game you play from here on is going to be somebody legit. And but again, I'm excited about it because, with these guys, we talked about opportunity a lot, and it's another golden opportunity to go see where we are, regardless of the outcome. But let's go bring our A game and let's bring our highest level and see what that gets us, by 10 o'clock on Thursday night.
This is this would be an email type question, but this is one that I've got from
right.
from watching you play. When there's a timeout on the floor, kids take the bench. You and the assistant coaches will gather on the floor, maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
What goes on during that session before you sit down and talk to the kids? I know you're making notes and they're making notes as you go throughout the game, but what happens? What's your strategy when you go into that timeout?
It's kind of like like CNN, every 30 minutes you kind of get a report of what's going on. Well, what we're trying to do is every 4 minutes we're giving our guys a report of what's going on. So usually at those timeouts, it's at the end of a 4-minute segment, like the under 16, under 12, under 8. And you try to do one or two things, either, kind of give a status of, all right, here's how we came out in that last 4 minutes and why. Or, okay, in this next 4 minutes coming up, here's what you need to do. And really, you can only maybe hit, a couple things on either side of the ball, and then you got to get them out of there because, too much information in a timeout, now heads are cluttered and it ends up being too much. And the more you give them, the slower their feet get. So we just try to really, summarize, all right, what did the 4 minutes we just played bring us and why were we successful or not? And then, vice versa, what do we got to do this next 4 minutes? It's a lot of situational talk.
Landy reminded me of an email question that we hadn't given you yet from Todd Hargrave. He said there's a number of young men, well-dressed, sitting behind your bench at home games. Are they managers? If so, how do you keep them busy at games and practices?
Right.
How much time do you have? Because they do a lot of things. How does someone become a manager? And our super manager, Stephen Dowling, is here tonight.
Right. And we got to get rid of Cape. Basically, if a kid, number one, you got to be full-time as a student in Charlotte, either incoming freshman, sophomore, whatever class you are. Usually guys do it their freshman year, and that way you can kind of grow into the program. I did it.
Yeah, you did it at Purdue, right? That's how you got in with Coach Katie.
Yeah, so it's a lot of guys that do it, they want to get into coaching, and we got some guys like that. In practice, they do a million things. It could be keeping the Gatorades full, could be charting free throws, charting shooting drills, passing and shooting drills. Sometimes we'll use them as dummy defenders if we're playing against a unique defense. Just different things. The job quality, there's probably a one-word job description as a manager is whatever.
Right.
Meaning that whatever you need to do, that's what you do. I mean, it's not like, all right, there's only this 5 things you do. I remember I used to take Coach Katie's car to get a car wash.
Right.
I'd always leave the office, and he'd be saying, yeah, make sure they get those cigars out of my, ashtray they forgot last time, So, but, I wouldn't trade it for the world because you get to see the cycle of an entire program and how it operates year-round. Season, camp mode, off-season, recruiting, the whole 9 yards.
When I went to Jacksonville University, Mike Hummer, who's the head of the Athletic Foundation now for the 49ers, I still think he's the best manager in the history of the old Sun Belt Conference. He was fantastic, and all the things I saw what he had to do to help that team prepare for a win.
Right.
Now, as a head coach that started that way, are you more, I guess, sensitive to the situation where these guys do work awfully hard?
Yeah.
And you get to know them a little bit more because I don't want to name any coaches, but there are some guys that they don't really deal with them. They don't even know their names. They've been around for 4 years.
Right.
And I would think that'd be very difficult.
Yeah. No, there was 2 guys in the office when I left to come to the show tonight, and they were, working on some stuff for the Miami game. And so, yeah. I mean, I think what we try to do is make those guys feel like they're included. They're as much a part of the program as any player, any coach. They deserve that same amount of respect. I would hope our players know if I ever found out, a manager's getting disrespected, that's a problem. But I haven't heard that at all, and that's a good thing. So, But the level of work that those guys do, that would be another great part of the documentary. Follow a basketball manager around for a season and see all the stuff that those guys do, because it's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that goes underappreciated, and none of their stuff ends up in the stat sheet at all.
No.
So, but what's funny is a lot of those guys end up being really, really successful because of, they've had to basically start from the mailroom and work their way up.
Another one, Lawrence Frank, what he did, and
absolutely.
in the NBA now. Well, Coach, let's take our last break. We'll come back with a few more minutes of the show and then wrap it up before the Miami game coming up on Thursday. This is the Alan Major Show from Signature Sports Group. Alan Major Show here from Wild Wing Cafe University, the Wild Wing Cafe broadcast booth. Our phone number is 704-332-0173. Got a couple of minutes left of the show. If you want to try and sneak a phone call in, we'd appreciate it. The Niners have the University of Miami coming up at Halton Arena. That'll be at 7:30 on Thursday. Still some ticket packages available before the Atlantic 10 Conference schedule starts. Great last-minute stocking stuffers. You got all your holiday shopping done, Coach?
No, I'm
You're a last-minute guy?
I get done about 3 o'clock on the 24th. I usually, I wake up, I'll go to Starbucks, get a double shot of something to kind of get me through the day. The beauty of it is nobody's in the stores.
Lanny's been looking for some green socks for you.
Hey, I get done when my wife gets done. I've made my one trip this year. That's it. Mostly she handles the rest of it, and I'm completely good with that.
Yeah, I'll probably throw my list together on the plane on the way back, and then you got a little hours time. You can take care of everybody, and then I'll hit the mall for about 3 or 4 hours. And the two things that are good about that. Number one, you don't have to worry about getting trampled in the store, because on the 24th, everybody's done. I mean, even the people working are trying to get home and get out of there early. So that's a good thing. You can just go in the store, get what you want, leave. No lines. Then the second part is you never have to second guess what you bought and worry about taking it back.
Sure.
Because once you leave the store, it's like, hey, you made a decision. This is what they got. You leave the gift receipt in there if they don't like it. But there's no driving home and then a week later because you're
agonizing over it.
Yeah, you didn't go in the day after Thanksgiving, and then 2 weeks later you take that back, you go get something else. It's like, Christmas shopping shouldn't be that hard. I mean,
it's a sport. Listen, I live that life. It's a sport.
It's enough. And as long as our guys know which end we're shooting on and they pass the ball to each other and we try to sit down and play defense, then I'll deal with Christmas shopping later. But first things first for right now.
It is a short break. Are most of the guys going to be able to get home?
Yeah. We'll wrap up after the game, and some guys will be home that night if they're local. Even Mike Thorne, kid from Fayetteville, will probably jump in his car or go home, or his parents may come get him. Javaris is local. Lamar Bradbury, Terrence, guys like that are local. Perrier, West Virginia, that's about a 3-hour drive. Victor will probably. His mom lives in town, so he'll probably be right there with her. So I think a couple of the guys like Braz and Deuce or DC Connection, they'll jump on the first thing smoking probably Friday morning. So they'll get all day Friday, Christmas Eve Saturday, all day Sunday, and then we'll have to be back Monday and just kind of start, getting the turkey out of them and get our mindset on Arkansas.
Finally, we issued the statement last night, but just on the travel situation, is Luka, prepared to go home and everything's all set for him to leave?
Yeah, he's prepared, and obviously, we just kind of been trying to rally around him until he gets back and is able to deal with what he's dealing with. Obviously, don't know a timetable or anything like that. I think the most important thing is him going back and assessing what it is, because it's tough, when you're that far away from home. I try to put myself in his shoes. You don't maybe always get all the information you need through Skype or, through phone calls or whatever. A lot of times you need to get back and see faces and see people. So we'll be thinking about him, and hopefully everything works out for the good.
Well said. Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Have a Merry Christmas to everyone. We want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And,
Merry Christmas,
of course, we
everybody.
still got one more game we're going to get under our belts when it comes this Thursday night. Miami comes to town. Hope a big crowd is there. The Allen Major Show is brought to you in part by your Carolina Ford dealers. Experience the new 2012 Explorer with an available EcoBoost engine. Available only at your Carolina Ford dealers. That'll wrap it up for the Allen Major Show here for 2011. We'll see you again in 2012. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, fellas.